So with every man and his dog uploading Euro 2024 content at the moment, I thought, you know what, I'm going to break it up today and I'm going to concentrate on the Premier League. Why would you concentrate on the Premier League, right? You've still got a couple of months until a ball is kicked. But I did stumble across the Bookies odds for the 24-25 season. I thought, you know what, the people of YouTube, of Rise Football Paradise, might be interested as to who the Bookies have as the favourites. Probably an obvious one, but whereabouts each of the 20 Premier League teams are likely to finish according to the Bookies for the upcoming season. So I think we're going to start from the top, the obvious ones, because it's going to be no shock to you guys to know that Bookies have Man City as once again the odds-on favourites to win the Premier League. And I'd like to make note that I am using Odds Checker as my point of reference. This by no means is sponsored by Odds Checker, this video. It's basically a site which gives you the best odds when it takes all the betting companies into consideration. So just because William Hill might have Man City top, it doesn't necessarily mean that Ladbrokes might, but Odds Checker kind of has an average, if that makes sense. And also, disclaimer, if you are to gamble, please gamble responsibly. So Man City, Odds Checker have the best odds at 13 to 10. No shock, I mean, most people, probably you guys, let us know in the comments if you think differently. For me, it makes sense, as much as it pains me for my own personal allegiances. Yeah, they're probably going to win 5 in a row, as painful as that sounds. In second place, again, probably no shock, because their closest competitors over the last couple of seasons is Arsenal. Now, Bookies have Arsenal, or the best odds on Odds Checker, as 2 to 1. Again, you might find different odds elsewhere. Number 2, Arsenal. And again, third is an obvious one because they finished third last season. Bookies have the top 3 exactly as the top 3 stood at the end of the 23-24 season. City top, Arsenal second, and obviously Liverpool third, with Odds Checker having their best odds at 8 to 1. Again, if you go on there, they will tell you who those best odds are with, what company and so on. A top 3 there, no surprises. Again, if you think differently, let us know in the comments below. And if you are new around here, by the way, hit that subscribe button or the usual YouTube spiel. Smash the like button and so on. Moving on though, this is where it gets a little bit spicier because we've got, controversially, Chelsea. Now you guys might have seen the fixtures that were released, 2 days ago as of filming this. And we've got that tasty opening weekend fixture of Chelsea versus Man City. So with Chelsea 4th, with 20 to 1 odds, would those odds shorten if they beat Manchester City? I don't know. I think 4th is quite ambitious, really, I think, for this Chelsea side. And I know you guys, you Chelsea fans, might go wild because if you do follow the channel, you'll know my allegiance is with the 5th on the list, Manchester United. But hold fire, hold those negative comments aside for one moment, because Manchester United are 5th by a fraction, because on Odds Checker the best odds is actually split between 3 teams. They got 5th Man United, 6th Spurs and 7 Newcastle, all at 33 to 1. But again, taking into account various different factors, Manchester United fall 5th. Again, United ended the season on a high, having defeated the arch enemy, the blue side of Manchester City, and winning the FA Cup. But let's make no mistake about it, most of us United fans aren't delusional. We're a little bit over-optimistic, I'll give you that. But 5th after the season we had last season, I think it's realistic. I think United are going to be pushing for top 4, aren't they? And I hate that. That's one thing I hate about modern football. Finishing in the top 4 in a Champions League spot in such a high regard, almost equivalent to winning a bloody trophy. Like, if you look at that very first Premier League season, United were 1st, Villa were 2nd, Norwich were 3rd. I can't remember who finished 4th. But it was completely crazy. There was no top 4 hype back in the day, the early years of the Premier League. Enough nostalgia. You know I love my nostalgia. I'm surrounded by Corinthian figures. But we've got, surprisingly, number 8 on the list being Aston Villa. Despite getting in the Champions League last season, despite finishing 4th, they're 66 to 1 odds favourite to win. I mean, the odds are probably no surprise considering Villa's history over the past few years, even though they did really well last season. You know I've got a soft spot for Aston Villa. My mum's a Villa fan and so on. And I'd love to go and watch Villa in the Champions League this season. But I think maybe the bookies are taking into consideration what happened with Newcastle this past season. I think Champions League football definitely hindered their progress, along with, of course, many an injury last season. But I think they completely threw everything at that, those early Champions League games, that awesome win against PSG at St James's Park. Unfortunately, they didn't qualify, but they did lose legs off the back of those early Champions League games. So maybe, unless Villa strengthen their squad depth, maybe they'll suffer the same fate. Number 9, this is where the odds get a little bit more out there. Number 9 is West Ham. Obviously, David Moyes is gone. They've got Lopetegui. Moving parts going on at West Ham. I think in general it was a good thing for Moyes and for the fans. Fans kind of wanted Moyes to go. I mean, as a neutral, I consider that a good spot for West Ham, but I know West Ham fans are going to go wild at me saying that because they're highly ambitious, and I love that. I love the fact that the West Ham fans are ambitious and they want to see their club progress. They're not dwelling on previous finishes, not dwelling on previous relegations again in the first couple of decades of the Premier League. They want to move forward. They've got an awesome stadium. I don't know how it finished, but for a long period of time last season, West Ham had the second highest attendance, not capacity in total, but attendance, the amount of people attending Premier League games after Manchester United. That might be wrong. I know Spurs were hot on their tails. Number 10, an awesome finish to the end of last season. We've got Crystal Palace, 300 to 1 on, according to Oddschecker. They're the best odds you're going to get, guys. And they're going to be over the moon to know that they've picked Brighton, who are 500 to 1 on to win the Premier League. Now, 10th being Palace, 11th being Brighton. At first impression, again, I'm not trying to upset any Palace fans because I've got a soft spot for Palace, by the way, and I really want to check out a game in the Holmesdale end. But a lot of people would probably put Brighton's chances of Premier League success higher than Crystal Palace's. I keep saying obviously, apologies for that, but obviously, De Zerbi is gone. Moving parts going on at Brighton. They've been immense since their promotion into the Premier League. We did see a similar thing with Southampton with their strategy working for years, and all of a sudden things collapsed. Is this going to start the downfall of Brighton? I don't think so. We can't disregard any team knowing what happened with Leicester in 2016, but more on Leicester in a moment as we make our way down the table. We've got 3 teams now, 12th, 13th and 14th, all 750 to 1 on. Now in 12th we've got Fulham, their local neighbours Brentford, we've got in 13th, and surprisingly we've got Bournemouth in 14th. Obviously they had a great season last season. They were the most informed team, I think, around Christmas. They beat Manchester United 3-0 at Old Trafford. People were kind of dissing them for some of their activity this time last year when they got rid of Gary O'Neill, but obviously a new manager came in, bit of a bumpy start, but he started to pick up the results, and that reflects in the Bookies odds. 14th, Bournemouth. Apologies if you can hear a bit of water in the background, there's a tap running somewhere. 15th and 16th, again the same odds, 1,000 to 1 on to win the Premier League outright. So that puts Wolves in 15th and it puts Everton in 16th. Again, very, very close. Wolves 15th, Everton 16th. I mean, that's similar again to last season, I suppose. But then moving on, we've got the relegation battle. Now this probably isn't going to be a shock to you guys, but it is very close. 17th, we've got Nottingham Forest, 1,500 to 1 on to win the Premier League. 18th, Ipswich with the same odds. So obviously if you've been paying close attention, that would leave Ipswich, Leicester and Southampton, all 3 of the newly promoted teams this season, to be relegated according to Bookies odds. But again, so Forest had a points deduction. They obviously breached FFP rules. Last season that obviously meant that it was tight as to whether they were going to get relegated. I'm not sure if there's any potential points deductions on the horizon for Forest. Let me know in the comments below. But a very narrow escape. Ipswich, it looks like, are going to be this season's Luton. Obviously, Luton will come close so many times. They conceded, I think, a last-minute goal against Liverpool. They could have beat Liverpool at home at Kenilworth Road. They were so close, but they just weren't picking up the points. I think Kieran McKenna, being an incredible manager, obviously he was tipped to go to places like Manchester United and Chelsea and so on. He signed a new deal with Ipswich. This is really McKenna's year to shine. If, despite the bookies putting him in the relegation spots, if Ipswich can survive, bearing in mind not only did they get promoted last season, they got promoted the season before, and as you know, a lot of the players that helped get Ipswich promoted from the Championship were the same players that helped Ipswich get into the Championship from League One. So we go, Forest and Ipswich, 1,500 to 1, 17th and 18th, which leaves Leicester in 19th and Southampton rock bottom. Both of those have got 2,000 to 1 odds to win the Premier League outright. I think the reason Leicester are slightly above Southampton, obviously the last time Southampton were in the Premier League a couple of seasons ago, their season was a bloody disaster. They got relegated long before the end, despite some weird results like 3-3 away at Arsenal. I think they were 3-1 up and stuff. I really hope Southampton don't again finish rock bottom in a disaster of a season like last time. I loved Matt Letizia back in the day and I've always got a soft spot for Southampton. I think Leicester are down there with potential points deductions on the horizon. Bear in mind, all the way back in the 2015-2016 season, as you all know, Leicester's odds were 5,000 to 1 to win the Premier League outright. This year, they're only 2,000 to 1 on. So technically, they've got more than a double chance of winning the Premier League than they did the year they won the bloody Premier League. Is it worth a bet on Leicester at 2,000 to 1? Never write them off. I mean, looking at those odds, maybe Palace are the secret team to... Obviously, they had a great end to last season. Palace might be worth a punt at 300 to 1 on. Looking at those, though, guys, I really feel like the Leicester season of 2015-2016 killed any kind of outside bet. Bookies learned from the payouts of that Leicester win. So, as you can see behind me, I've got the flags of every country competing in Euro 2024, but I have drifted away from Euros content. I know I said I was going to do daily Euros content, but especially after last night's result, as of filming this, last night England drew, I was about to say drew 1-1 with Denmark, but it was an incredibly poor performance. Now, going back to the Premier League, got my retro hat on, I do feel like a lot of us English are very arrogant towards the Premier League. Obviously, it's got the most eyeballs, it is the most popular league in the world now, but the fact that most English fans only watch the Premier League leads to us overhyping our players, in my opinion. People only watch the Premier League, they only see how good Phil Foden is, and so on. They hear about how good Jude Bellingham is, they catch a bit of the Champions League, but the fact that a lot of English people were writing Germany off prior to the tournament just because none of us really watch the Bundesliga. I do, I love the Bundesliga, but a lot of English don't. So they're unaware of players like Jamal Musiala, Florian Wirtz and so on. So I do feel like we often go into these major tournaments completely blindsided and overhype our own players. But in terms of the Premier League, guys, I'm very much looking forward to it. I hope you are too. Let us know what you think of the Bookies odds. Do you think they're going to be somewhere close to how the 24-25 season will finish? Ladies and gents, if you want to see more videos like this, let us know in the comments below. But next week, I am going to be back out and about as we normally would on Rise Football Paradise. I've had a tough few days actually. One of the dogs was in and out of the vets a couple of days ago, which put a halt on the daily content. Yesterday, the MacBook decided to completely play up, so I might have to invest in a new Mac with a higher RAM and stuff if we are to grab the 24-25 season by the bollocks, because I'm aiming for 25,000 subscribers before the new season starts, and we're aiming for a whopping 50 by the time it ends. So thanks for your support so far, and I'll see you in the next video.